Welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube video. You're here with your host GBHL Damian and...
Spiderwife!
Spiderwife. You're confusing them already.
Oh.
It's my wife. You may have recognised her from... You were in that first video.
Let me be in a video!
You were in that first video, weren't you? Where you
Yeah.
stormed out. Yeah, so she was in the first episode of The Plenty. You might remember her from that.
And then you didn't let me be in any more videos.
I haven't been anymore. Because normally... I've got Tom. Normally got Tom, and we do the Plenty every Friday. And alas, this week, my pal ain't here. So there is no Palantir. Palantir, indeed. No Palantir. Thanks, did you like that?
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
So, in the absence of Tom, which is a loss keenly felt by us all, I had a message from him today. He is hiking. He's on holiday in the United States. And he goes hiking, he goes climbing up mountains on his holidays, and he he went up a mountain 10 miles, I don't know if that means 10 miles up, 3,200 feet gain elevation. I don't know what that is. Is that the highest he went? He went up very high, and then he fell down, apparently. So he's alright, but yeah, he does different holidays to how we do holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sit on our holidays. But in the absence of Tom, we thought it might be nice to have a chat and meet one of the ladies of the hobby. Essentially, there were some comments after the Plenty last week where we talked about our ladies. There were some comments about how tolerant you sounded, and where we found you and such. And so we thought it might be nice to talk about the other side of the hobby. Now you always get, on all these videos, you always get a bunch of hobbyists talking about how excited they are, and we thought it might be nice for you to hear from a normal person. And see kind of what it's like living with a hobbyist. And
is that what you're calling it for the purpose of the video?
A hobbyist?
Hobbyist.
What would you call it?
Nerd!
No, yeah, yes, it's a hobbyist, it's not a nerd thing. We've been through this so many times. So yeah, we're going to have a sit and chat about maybe how your opinions have changed or not changed at all in the slightest, and that sort of thing, and I hope you enjoy it and maybe get some painting done. Would you like to say anything before we get started?
No, I'm just going to fill you in on life as a Wargaming Widow.
Is it tough?
Right now. It's tough.
Yeah?
It's tough. We've actually had to sit and have dinner together because Tom's not here.
It's been pretty tragic,
So, you know, 2 blue toothbrushes in the toothbrush holder. They're looking a little bit sad, like, I miss my friend.
It's all true. So, Emma.
Yes.
What did you know about wargaming before we got together?
Pretty much nothing. I was probably of the opinion of most people, and I don't want to offend anyone out there, but I was probably of the opinion most people, when I saw figures and such, that very much like in my Palantir sketch, that it was played by, oh, I'm going to kill you now, oh, I've got a sword, I'm going to kill you now, ah! Okay. And that's pretty much what I knew of the hobby.
Okay.
I guess I hadn't really thought about the painting side of things. I suppose when I had like family that painted miniatures for like train sets and stuff, so I suppose I'd kind of seen that side of a hobby, and then saw the kind of fantasy wargaming thing as the kind of role play type thing. I'm a teacher, and I teach 4 and 5-year-olds, and that's what they do with small little figures. You know, they play with them and make them talk and have little imaginary scenarios. So you kind of see where I'm going. Yeah, more scenarios maybe. So that's the kind of background I was coming from. Okay,
so the game then, had you seen a Games Workshop?
I think I'd seen a Games Workshop. They're not the most like welcoming stores from the outside. I know differently now. I have been in several Games Workshop stores. Everyone in every town that we visited, I have been in. And even attempted to be in the ones that are closed on days where we've turned up and they've been closed.
No, Bath.
Oh, bad. They close on a Monday. What's that all about? But from the back, from the outside, they're very dark and gloomy and like, oh, don't come in here, you know. And then I have since frequented Games Workshop. Usually very, very good service. Something, I guess, about being a young woman who doesn't appear to have any children.
A girl!
Doesn't appear to be the mother of small children, so therefore somewhat interesting. I think perhaps I haven't got very exciting nails to show you tonight, but I think also I read somewhere that hobbyists, such as some of yourselves, like ladies who can do the fine detail painting on their nails. That's something that's quite appealing to them.
Is that the connection?
So I wonder if, if I've ever gone in with my nice details that they've spied those. So and they are lovely. The people that work in there are lovely and are very friendly and welcoming, but from the outside it's like this, I don't know.
Old man's pub.
Yeah, that sort of thing that you kind of don't want to cross the threshold, but then once you've crossed and you realise that they're...
Once you're in,
there's no going back. Start making friends with them, you start learning their names, you start messaging them on Facebook. Right? Twickenham, yeah.
So,
he's gone to the other side.
He's alive.
He's alive. He's gone to teaching. He's come to my side, but
he's left Twickenham.
He's left the GW Twickenham, and that's sad.
Okay, so that's what you thought of the hobby in general. What about the people who played it? What about wargamers? You can be honest. Did you know anyone who played?
I don't believe I knew anyone that played, and so I probably had a bit of a stereotype in my head of the type of people who played.
And what they look like?
Kind of nerdy.
They look nerdy.
They look nerdy.
And how does a nerdy person look?
Maybe they would wear glasses. Maybe they would have long hair. Baggy t-shirts, baggy trousers, not really caring what they wear. A bit kind of grungy, kind of the sort of teens that I hung around with when I was a teenager. Was that sort of thing that I could possibly imagine them being like.
And they're all like that. And they went to these private places and played these games. And they went, wah. But did you think, how do you think they played that? I mean, it's, the likelihood is you never really thought about it, but how, if they're doing that, is that it? Is it just being kids and playing with them like they're action figures? Is that all
I guess so.
Okay.
Because, obviously I didn't know it was called Strategy Battle Game, and I just, I don't think I knew what it was called.
Well, but you would then...
of course. I obviously know that now.
Yeah. What else is there?
There's Warmaster, there's Warhammer, there's Warhammer 40k.
Warmaster, that's a catch. That's a good one.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, kids play with little scenarios with action figures or with Small World, which is what we call in the business. And I guess I would have assumed it was much the same. I wouldn't have really thought about it. I mean, certainly until you started going on tournaments and things, I wouldn't have had a clue that even such things existed. It was the sort of thing that people would play in their dark, dingy
bedrooms,
dungeons, in their basements or something.
On their own.
On
with
their own.
Else.
Well, no, they'd have to have fellow.
On their owners.
On their owners.
There'd have to be more than one of them on their own to do it.
Yeah, they somehow find each other.
Yeah. There's some sort of
through some secret
beacon
code. Or subliminal messaging, or like some.
They wouldn't use
grunt.
They wouldn't talk to each other. Grunt.
Other people could hear or something. I don't know.
They do.
I don't imagine it being high pitched. It wouldn't be like a dog or a dolphin like communicating. It would be like a lower, or something. Lower frequency.
Sort of nerd sonar.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I think at this point,
a kind of knowing.
At this point, we need to say that Em's being very honest here, and so
And I'm not trying to offend anyone. Okay, just keep watching the video.
Yeah.
I hopefully will redeem myself.
It's a narrative. So, at some point after we got together, because I wasn't really into the hobby when we got together.
Yeah, that was very convenient.
Yeah, it was good timing.
Wasn't involved in the hobby. The only thing I was aware of with anything to do with the hobby. Was it back in Damian's home that he lived with his mum and dad? In his bedroom there were some cabinets. I don't think you had the nice glass cabinets at that point. I think they were the old ones.
Oh, I think I had the glass.
Okay.
They're Warhammer figures.
But I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
But they were lots and lots of figures displayed, much like you'd get, I was going to say in a museum, but it's not really like a museum, I don't know.
It's like a fantastic museum.
But, and I remember looking at those and thinking, okay.
So yeah, what did you think then when we're, I don't know, a few months into going out, you come home and there's that?
Well, the way you pitched it to me was very much, this is what I did when I was a teenager. And that's over now. But I've kept the memories in a nice glass case that I can look on. You know, I spent lots of time painting them. Oh, you painted them. That was quite cool.
What are the two armies in the cabinets?
There are...
I
want to say high elves, but it's not high elves. It's wood elves. Wood elves.
Yeah.
And... you have... who do the Battalion archers belong to?
I never really had an army of them. But well done for saying Battalion.
Because that's the only thing he's let me paint.
No.
2 Battalion archers. Wood elves and...
literally every time we go there I ask you to play a game.
I know. I've got like vampire counts in my head or something. Is that right?
Is that what you're right?
Are they vampire counts?
What else are vampire counts?
Ah, well done me.
Such a loser.
Yeah, no, this is because it's been conditioned into me. As you said, every time we go back.
We've never played that. We've never
played that.
So there's 2 Warhammer armies in the cabinets, Wood Elves and Vampire Counts. You saw them. I don't remember this at all. I genuinely don't remember us having a conversation about these. But I said that's something I used to do when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And you went, all right, fair enough. He's out of that. Thank God.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty much it.
Okay, so circa early
before we got married.
2011.
Was it that year? That's the year we got married.
Yeah.
Well, I'm remembering.
I know these things. I can remember when we got married because when I got back into the hobby.
Right.
I got back into the hobby, which incidentally was your fault. How did you feel about that?
Or do they know the story of how we got back?
Yeah, I think we did it in the Plantier last week. But we were looking at Hobbycraft. Emma found the old blue One Ring rulebook and said, "There's some Lord of the Rings book over there." I went and had a look at them, and then she went, "Do you want to get back? These are the figures you used to do. Do you want me to get you this?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah, I think it was something like, would that be interest of you? It was like £6 or something. I was like, nice wifey post Christmas treat. And the January sales.
That was a mistake, wasn't it?
Yeah, look where that led me. Being nice.
Okay, so I then got back into the hobby.
I think the difference is, and I don't know if you've already you've planned a question for this later on, so it might come up later. But I think the difference with you getting back into the hobby was going back through the route of Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For me, and even more so with The Hobbit, and I guess that is a sort of separate conversation, my opinions on the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But there's something a little bit different about it being a game based on Lord of the Rings versus a game based on complete kind of fantasy warfare. So things like the Wood Elves and the...
But Lord of the Rings is fantasy warfare.
Yeah, it is, but I think it's because it's like a socially acceptable...
because there's films about it.
Yeah, and it's more out there. There's more popular culture that links to it.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And therefore, for some reason, that seems to make it a bit more okay.
So because there are films of the Lord of the Rings, this is obviously pre-Hobbit when we were talking about, because there were films of Lord of the Rings, the game's more accessible.
Yeah.
It makes more sense. So obviously Warhammer and Warhammer 40k are just Games Workshop's own IP. They've made all that up.
Mm.
If there was a film of that released in the cinema that was a major hit, playing Warhammer might then be more widespread.
Yeah, maybe. I suppose the thing is, because I know you don't always play, with the scenarios and things, but because there's obviously a narrative to the film as well, whereas
there's narrative.
I guess
scenarios,
with the Warhammer 40k, it's just completely made up.
Yeah, I mean, they have their own narrative things, but they are based on the stuff they made up. But what if there hadn't been films of Lord of the Rings? I mean, to be fair, if there hadn't been films of Lord of the Rings, Games Workshop never would have made the game. But
there were still books. There was still a narrative. There was still a story that went behind it.
A novel.
Yeah.
As opposed to something a bunch of like-minded people have just made up and created a game. Okay. Yeah. And incidentally, that's actually why I got back into the hobby of Lord of the Rings. That the mates I used to play Warhammer with as a kid, we'd kind of lost touch and some of them weren't playing anymore. And I wanted something that I knew I could play with my existing mates. And they weren't hobbyists, but they were Lord of the Rings fans. So I thought, I can get back into the hobby and go, look, it's Lord of the Rings, and try and convince them that way.
Yeah.
And that's how I started doing it. That's how I got back into collecting, playing things like Balin's Tomb and Amon Hen with non-hobbyist friends, saying, oh, do you want to try this out? And it worked because of what you're saying, I think. A lot of people who had never painted a model...
There's just something a bit more socially acceptable about it because it's linked to the Lord of the Rings rather than just, the complete kind of fantasy...
Which, of course, is wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong.
But I
still feel more comfortable with the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit strategy battle game than I do with like Warhammer 40k and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So, have you, and I'm sure you say how you have as well, but have you in the last few years ever been tempted to get involved?
Not really. I played Balin's Tomb scenario, which was a nice short learner scenario.
Did you win?
And I made the columns.
You did
I made the scenery out of toilet rolls.
Yeah,
I can't even remember how the game went. I can't remember if I won, if I lost. Don't really remember. It was a few years ago when I agreed to play. I think it was nice to be able to spend time with you playing it, but it didn't hook me.
Okay.
Which is probably why I haven't then played much again since. I kind of like the idea of the painting. I like the small detailed painting thing, but one, you haven't really let me, and I'm sure you're going to go, because you can't just start to paint Boromir. But equally, like, I painted these two Bretonian arches that Damian get me, and it was fine, even though they were much bigger scale. Didn't trust me with the smaller scale of the.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
Other figures. Have you seen the designs I can fit on that nail?
It's not the same thing.
It is totally the same thing. But yeah, I think I would get bored with it. Like the hours and hours and hours that this man spends on painting, and I think I'd lose interest in it. I don't know, maybe if there were figures that related to something that I liked. I don't know, Disney princesses or something.
One of the guys, Camille, did that. He got his daughter to play the game with her like Disney figures, so that she'd play it.
I thought you were going to say about Sam's.
Sam's.
Is it Glad? Not Gladriel.
Yes, it is.
It's Gladriel.
Painted
like Elsa from Frozen.
By Kev.
See, look at that knowledge.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
But what were we saying? So my interest in it, yeah. So the playing, not so much. The painting, slightly more. The scenery, that was something I was kind of trying to help with a little bit. I found that really interesting.
You painted some of the branches on my Battle of Five Armies display, didn't you?
I did, but don't say that too loudly or they'll take
I'll take my prize away.
But the thing for me is that the time that you're doing that hobby gives me time to do my hobby. Which
is scrapbooking.
Scrapbooking, yeah. A thing called Project Life, which I won't bore you with now, but it's my hobby that kind of takes up the same amount of time and energies, and the way you can go and buy loads and loads of things that you just have sitting waiting to be painted, in the same way I've got cards and things that are sitting to waiting to be scrapped. So
you've got a card backlog.
I have got a card backlog, yes.
So then you're all right with me painting in the evenings?
Yep.
But do you think that's because you have a hobby to do it? Like if you weren't doing that, do you think it'd be more annoying?
I think we've said this before, and advice for both the single men and the ones in couples out there. you don't have to spend. I mean, we've chosen to sit on the sofa tonight and be all like cozy together for this video.
We never sit near each other.
But it's really important to be able to have your own interests and spend time doing things you enjoy doing. And so, yeah, as much as I choose to spend my time doing my hobby, you might spend the time, I could, if I was a different woman, spend the time at the gym or gardening or baking or reading a book or having a bath or doing all those things. Like, there has to be times in the evening where you pursue your own interests. You don't, it doesn't make you love each other any less if you're not sat next to each other doing the same thing all the time.
It's got very deep.
Yeah, well, advice for
good.
Advice from a Wargaming Widow. And I think as well, you tend to do a lot of your painting and stuff in the evening, or when I've gone to bed.
I object if I do
You would not. I mean, as opposed to when we're up. So when I'm up and we're having time together, then we'll have time together.
I get you to record videos for the channel.
And then when it's night time and I'm asleep and you fancy staying up to paint for a bit, then that works too.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been, well, maybe perhaps before a tournament or something, we've got a deadline, but he wouldn't choose to paint instead of spend time with me.
No, of course not. I was just being hilarious.
So
yeah,
it's getting that balance.
The kind of before Throne of Skulls was a bit stressful, wasn't it? When I was
Which Throne of Skulls?
The last one. Yeah, when I was doing the Battle for Five.
Oh, you mean the one where we were moving house, and whilst I was packing boxes, Damian was making his scenery.
They don't paint themselves.
And he's just there oh no, I've just got to sort the trees. I was like, we're moving out of this flat in 5 days.
That was one of the few times you snapped at me.
I did, yes. Because we were on a really tight deadline. We were due to move into the house, lovely house that we are in now, on the Friday, and the Throne of Skulls was the following Friday. So in theory, once we moved into the house, Damian would have a whole week to do whatever he wanted, and I said very much that. You've got the whole week to do whatever you wanted. But now, when we have 4 days, or however many days at that point it was that we had left to pack, you need to help me pack.
I remember saying, if you can imagine, this is a sofa with a wall there in the flat, and just around that way is our dining room. And I got up, I think we'd been having a cup of tea or dinner, and I got up and sat down at the dining room table and was like this. And I remember you going, "You better not be painting those trees." And we go, "No." But yeah, most of the time it's not like that. Which kind of leads me on to the next question then. Does it annoy you when I vanish for a weekend to a tournament?
It doesn't, on the whole. Because once again, it gives me time to do things, spend time with my girls, spend time with family, spend time just pacing around in my pyjamas and, scrapbooking and watching bad TV and doing whatever I want for the weekend. But I will say there was a point where it seemed like the frequency of the tournaments, bear in mind that when you first got back into it, it was like Throne of Skulls. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was the doubles. Yeah. It was the doubles, and then it was like the following year that you had the next tournament, which was then doubles again.
No, I think it was Throne of Skulls. I think it was like 6 months apart.
But there just seemed to be much, much bigger gaps, and then suddenly the Great British Hobbit League became a thing.
Did.
And
fine institution.
Every 3 weeks you'd be at a tournament, and then what would happen, and for those of you that I think it's come up in videos, and James and Jamie have talked about it, but a tournament might be just a Saturday night. So you think, okay, well, Damian's out for Saturday, so Damian will be out for Saturday and Saturday night. But what it actually means is that we will have people staying in the house from the Friday, possibly even the Thursday, depending on when they will be leaving for the tournament, right up until the Monday or the Tuesday, perhaps.
Thursday to Tuesday is quite extreme.
Thursday to Tuesday has happened, hasn't it, Jamie Giblin? Yes, it has.
He wasn't here from Thursday to Tuesday. That was a Saturday to Tuesday.
But there were people here from Saturday to Tuesday because it was the... You named it this. It was the Come Nerd With Me. Yeah.
It was from Friday. Tom was here on Friday, Ed and Sam were here on Saturday, and Jamie was here Sunday and Monday. It was a good weekend.
So that, when it became quite frequent, could irk me a little bit. And when you say it's a tournament weekend, and what tournament weekend actually means is, you know, prep into it on a Thursday. And the worst thing, and I don't know if I've ever actually told you this, but it's even like, not when people come to say, because I love, like, all the boys that come to say you're all very lovely and very welcome, and I like looking after you and cooking for you and whatever.
Except Tom.
Tom the most. He's got my Pyrex.
Tom the most.
He needs to get my Pyrex back. Is when, and it's changed because now you normally have people with you, but the thing that used to happen on a Monday night, if you'd been away, particularly after the one in Nottingham, would be this like depression that would hit you. And you'd just be like, but it was just such a good weekend. I just had such a nice time.
Oh, that's true. That's so true.
Oh, but I miss my friends.
It's true.
Oh, but I had such a nice, and there's such nice people. Oh.
It's just because I'm.
And it was like, so I'd had the lead up before you'd go to a tournament for several days. Oh, I've got to get the last bit painted. I've got to get this finished. Got to get this finished. Got to get this done. Have I made sure I've packed everything? You know, bye babe. Have a lovely weekend. See you Sunday night. Sunday night you'd come back. Normally quite late. No, because it wouldn't normally be the Sunday night so much. Sunday night I'd have to listen to the, you know, blow by blow account of the weekend, you know, and turn 5 on Saturday, and you know, what you had to eat, what you had to drink, who was there, who you spoke to, you know, amazing conversions that had been done by different people. So Sunday night you'd be really excited, and then Monday you'd have to get up to go to work, and the reality of real life would hit you again, and Monday night you would be miserable.
There is nothing worse than a Monday after a tournament.
Yep.
It's the dark times.
And it was and I'd be kind of like, oh yay, get my husband back. No, don't get my husband back, not yet. I've got to get out of this dark place first.
But it slowed down a bit of late, hasn't it? It was only really over the summer that it was only like there were 3 tournaments that were 3 weeks apart. It wasn't all that.
Yeah, it just seemed like for a while.
There was a really intense period in the middle, but they've kind of spread out now.
But good news. Because now Tom stays over once a week, so you know, you're never more than a week apart. From,
but you agreed to that.
From Gaming Love.
We pitched that to you. We didn't.
You did pitch that to me. How would you like to cook for 3 of us once a week?
You love cooking and not seeing me, don't you? Okay, cool.
And then he doesn't let me be in the videos until now, when Tom goes away.
I know. He is away.
It's okay.
So, again, thanks for being honest, this is really good. So, that's interesting, knowing what you think about the tournaments and stuff. What do you think about the Lord of the Rings films? Bear in mind, again, for context, the Lord of the Rings films came out before we got together, which might matter, I think, as we go on.
I remember watching one of the Lord of the Rings films when I was in my first year at university, because my friend Holly had a massive crush on Orlando Bloom.
Don't we all?
And so insisted that I came and watch the films. He looks nothing like Orlando Bloom in the films. I mean, where's the lovely dark curly hair? It's covered up by a blonde wig. And from what I remember of that night, I fell asleep.
As many
and didn't really watch much of her film that she was very excited about. And didn't try again. Okay. And then I'm sure at some point you then tried to get me to watch them.
I don't really remember that.
Which I did. I don't really remember the first watching, but I remember
I'll tell you why.
We then went to the Royal Albert Hall. I don't know if we'd seen them before that, but we definitely saw the first one.
I showed you Fellowship. We had tickets to see the 2 towers. This is amazing. Imagine this is your first time seeing The Hobbit. We got tickets to see the 2 towers at the Royal Albert Hall with the London Philharmonic playing the score.
Yeah.
You watched it.
Pretty awesome.
Which is amazing. So, yeah, we watched Fellowship first, extended, obviously.
Not the vanilla edition.
No. We then went to see the 2 towers.
I may have fallen asleep in the Royal Albert Hall.
And then we also got tickets, like about 6 months later, to see Return of the King at the Albert Hall. And before we went to see Return of the King, we watched the 2 Towers extended edition.
Yes, so I see the bits that I would miss. Those bits. I missed.
and then we went to see Return of the King, and then
That was a big group of us as well.
yeah, there was like 10 of us. That was really good. And that's when I met Howard Shaw.
And then we watched I think then we must have watched the extended.
Because you need to know what happened to Saruman.
I did need to know what happened to Saruman. And I decided that I liked the first one because I like all the kind of character stuff, and I don't really like all the walking and the fighting that's in the other two. So.
And you preferred Return of the King to Two Towers, didn't you?
Yeah.
I remember you leaning over to me.
Controversial.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if it is controversial, maybe it's not, but I certainly... People seem to like the first two more than the third one. More, if you ask people what their favourite one is, I think it tends to be one of the first two. But I remember like half an hour in, you leaning over and going, this is already better than the Two Towers. Okay, so...
I really didn't like the Two Towers.
Wow.
I don't know.
Crazy drunk. So you enjoyed the experience, I presume, because of the Albert Hall, but not massively keen on the films?
No.
Okay.
No.
So, now, what do you think of the Hobbit films?
I really like the Hobbit films.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I think obviously it was written as a children's book, so there's kind of a bit more of a whimsy to it. I did read The Hobbit.
Right then.
I read Damian's very nice hardback version. He tried to offer me some tatty paperback, and I was like, he's got several copies, as I'm sure you are aware, and I was like, if I'm going to read one, I want that one. And
I want that one.
I want that one.
Illustrated by Alan Lee.
Yeah, and I kind of enjoyed it, and
kind of enjoyed it. Praising.
yeah, I mean, it wasn't my favourite book, but I enjoyed it. I was happy to read it. And then, obviously, I went to see the first Hobbit film with you.
Obviously.
I think I saw it 3 times.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I didn't see it in the high frame rate, because I did see that then the second time, because I was very intrigued to see the high frame rate and had tried to get my head around what that actually meant. So I think we saw it in something like 2D first.
We didn't see the
Then
first
saw
one in
it.
high frame rate. No, we saw it in 3D first because we went to the IMAX. The first one we
You
saw
didn't see it first,
We
no,
did.
did we?
The first one we did.
Oh.
A group of us went to the IMAX. It was Desolation Smaug that me and you went to Richmond first, and then we went to the IMAX
yes, because
with Tom and Lily.
God forbid I had my work Christmas party the same day that the Hobbit Desolation Smaug was released.
That was pretty awkward.
And I had a conversation with you that morning, not that morning, sorry, a morning in, I don't know, November sometime, when you found out the film was going to be, when it was going to be coming out. Or maybe it was only the week before when the film times released or something. And I had to go into work and speak to my line manager and say, is the Christmas meal at 7 or 7:30? Why? Because we need to know if we can fit in an afternoon screening of The Hobbit before I come to the Christmas meal. So I finished work at lunchtime on that Friday, dashed home to get changed into my party glad rags, and then sat in my party glad rags in the cinema with several 10-year-old boys who'd obviously just finished school for the holidays as well.
I like to think you dressed up for Bilbo.
Right, yeah. To then go on to my Christmas party afterwards.
But don't you think it's lovely?
And Damian was really upset at me because it meant that we didn't get time to discuss the film.
In great detail.
Because I had to go to my party.
But do you not think it was lovely of me that how much I wanted to see it with you first?
Yes.
Yes.
And you had to compromise at going to see it in 2D at Richmond. Damian's not very keen on the Richmond cinema.
The IMAX didn't email me. So, you prefer the Hobbit films to Lord of the Rings film?
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's really unusual. Like,
only amongst you guys.
I think it's fun. Well, I think I don't know of many people who would say that at all. I prefer the Hobbit ones. It's a very, very unusual. A lot of people, like, and I don't agree with this at all, think the Hobbit films are absolutely awful. Like, if you go onto a film website, the common consensus from a lot of people is these are terrible. Like, you know, he's ruined what he did with Lord of the Rings with CGI, and he sold out, blah blah blah. So it's interesting to hear that, and I was wondering why you think that is. Why you think as someone new to it in a way, why you think the Hobbit films are better?
I don't know. I mean, maybe because it's obviously based on a children's book. I said that before. There's, I don't know what it is.
Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that we were together and I was getting constantly so excited about all the trailers and...
Oh, without a doubt. I don't think if we weren't together,
yeah, this is
I don't think I would have even seen the films.
Yeah, because particularly the production
I have
diaries.
been brainwashed, ladies and gentlemen.
Because you would by the end getting excited about production diaries and TV spots and stuff.
Yeah.
That's brainwashing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's brainwashing.
But that's what I mean. So maybe if we'd been together when Lord of the Rings came out, and there wasn't quite the same kind of level of production diaries or anything like that, but there was this kind of buzz.
Yeah, but I don't think you've got the buzz about the Hobbit films because you love the Lord of the Rings one so much.
Yeah, but I was really excited about Lord of the Rings when that came out.
Yeah, but then think about how excited you were. You've had three films worth of momentum that suddenly your favourite film trilogy, other than Jurassic Park...
well, no.
Back to the
Future. I prefer the Lord of the Rings trilogy to the Jurassic Park trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
One film,
because
it's difficult.
Yeah. What I was saying is that you gathered the momentum of having 3 films that you absolutely loved, with no plans at that point for there to be anything else, and then suddenly you find out that there's going to be The Hobbit.
Yeah. And for a long time it looked like there wasn't going to be The Hobbit. So that was...
Yeah, and so then suddenly you find out that there's going to be The Hobbit, there's going to be 2 films, because there was 2 originally, I know that.
That's good.
And then they decided to make it into 3, and it's just like, it's like crack. You're excited about the fact that, you know, this thing that you love, you're going to get 3 more years of it.
Yeah, it was amazing. When you, not just that they were making the films, but when it was the same team making the films.
Yeah.
And even, you know, I love them. I love the Hobbit films. But I wasn't that worried about them. Knowing it was the same team shooting in New Zealand with the same cast, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to love these. Whereas I remember going in to see Fellowship for the first time and being terrified. And being like, this could absolutely ruin this book I've loved for 10 years.
You were worried going into The Hobbit.
Yeah, I think I was, but the trailers had kind of subdued me. I was doing a lot of the reassuring thing.
Both times, so the first time you saw There no, not There and Back Again.
Desolation of Smaug.
No, it was the first one.
Unexpected Journey.
Unexpected Journey. And Desolation of Smaug. Oh, because There and Back Again is what it was going to be called, the third one.
Very good.
You were nervous. You were genuinely nervous for both of them.
I was
just
definitely
to kind
nervous, but I didn't... I was more excited. I wasn't worried they were going to be awful. It's like, I remember when
No, but with
Fellowship
Desolation
ended,
of Smaug, you were worried about like the kind of second movie thing and the fact that because they made it from 2 movies into 3, whether it was just going to feel like a filler movie. You were anxious.
I thought Desolation of Smaug was going to be the best one because I was more worried about the third film because I didn't think there'd be enough in it. And actually, in retrospect now, I prefer the first one to Desolation of Smaug. And I think the third one's going to be better than Desolation of Smaug. Because Desolation of Smaug was my favourite part of the book. So I thought it was going to be my favourite part of the film. And I loved it, I thought it was great. But I don't know, I prefer the first one. But yeah, so I just thought that was quite interesting that maybe you, not that you've been brainwashed into it, but the reason you like him is because you got into all the behind the scenes stuff and then that sort of thing. You got wrapped up in the machine.
I mean, it's kind of hard not to pay attention to it when you live with this.
Talking of which, this isn't the Palantir, and we never would, but what happened yesterday?
The extended edition of Desolation of Smaug is coming out in time for a certain set for somebody's birthday. 25 minutes of extra footage, 9 hours of behind the scenes footage.
They're tricking you though,
OMG.
That's including the commentary. So, you know, it's actually about 6 hours of documentaries. I know. That's how they did it in Lord of the Rings. They said like 24 hours of extra features, but the 4 commentaries on that. But, you know, it's still good. But but we knew about these things.
Oh yeah, because you were upset that there's only been 1 commentary on it.
Yeah, there's only 1 commentary on the extended Unexpected Journey. What happened yesterday though? We knew about the extended edition coming out, so what was released?
The trailer for
a
it.
trailer for it, yeah. And in the trailer, we get glimpses
New bit.
of all the stuff. New bit, yeah.
New bit.
And I'm sure me and Tom might discuss this in a couple of weeks if it's not old news. But what did we see, Emma? Can you tell us some new bits?
Dane. No, it's not Dane. Thrain. Thrain, so close. Dane, I know who Dane is. Dane we're going to see in the third film. Yeah, on his animal sled.
Not sled.
Type. Not sled.
Pig. Things on a pig.
Yeah.
She's good.
Yeah.
She doesn't even like it. Okay.
So we see Thrain.
We do.
Kind of poor old Gandalf.
We do.
And a bit spoilerific. What have we done?
That's the end of the second film.
Yeah. But if you haven't seen this, it's, you know, if people were waiting for extended edition to come out, they've just snuck it in there.
I don't think people who haven't seen it in the cinema would wait for the extended one. And it's not a spoiler. They could have tipped a jar of coffee over or something. Yeah, that doesn't mean we've just released Smaug to go and mess up Lake Town, does it?
Okay.
Any other new bits?
Yes.
You were made to watch it in a noisy pub, so you worked that out.
Couldn't wait till we got home. Had to show me in a pub.
Very important.
There was, and I can't think.
Some bits of Bayonne.
Bits.
New shots
Oh
of
yeah,
Bayonne.
bits of new bits, but Bayonne.
New stuff in Lake
Stuff
Town.
with Azog. I think it was a bit.
I don't think it was in New Azog. But, you know, that's just in the trailer. So, if you are interested, go and check it out. Google is your friend. I think it's on Yahoo.
Do the thing where it like comes across the bottom.
Editing's too tricky. Yeah, it's a 4 minute or 2 minute maybe trailer for the extended edition. It all looks very exciting. And it's out in just over a month. It's about 6 weeks. 3rd of November. 4th of November.
4th of November.
So, yeah, that was quite
Funny
exciting.
enough, comes out November, extended edition.
No, who knew?
Who knew?
So, that was cool. So, would you say then, in the last few years, that your opinion of war gaming has changed?
Yes.
How?
I have realised that some very, very lovely people war game.
They're in there.
They're in there. Hello. Hello. Hello, lovely war gamers. Big shout out to my homies who frequented the House of Auburn. Shay-Auburn. Yeah, you're quite an eclectic mix, but I love you. And for now, you are welcome to still remain in the House of Auburn. But, Jamie Giblin, you must put the toilet seats down. I have told you once, I have told you twice, I will not tell you again. Publicly shamed.
And he said you cook the pulled pork.
Yeah.
So, how's it changed, wargaming?
Obviously I understand that it isn't about with figures. Not to say that I understand the rules at all, but I have a bit more knowledge of it. And I find it quite a wholesome hobby. When I've talked to people.
Yeah, because you talk to people.
Yeah, I do. yeah, I've told people.
Well, Emma's colleague, I get congratulations texts after tournaments and stuff from Emma's work colleagues and stuff. It's like, how do they know?
Yeah.
But this is all part of my outing myself process.
It's all part of the outing process. And kind of not normalising it, but just putting it out there and going yep, my husband goes to tournaments. What, football tournaments? No.
It's a sport like that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, if you take it away from them, they can't use it to hurt you.
Yeah.
You take it back. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I find it a very wholesome hobby. I would much rather him be doing that than several other things that you suppose you could be doing with your time. And I'm pretty sure, if I said to you, no, I don't want you to do that this weekend because there might be a chance that you might be willing to compromise on going to a tournament.
Didn't count towards the league.
Didn't count towards the league.
Has there ever been? I've thankfully won a couple of tournaments. How did that make you feel?
Very, very proud, but we won't talk about the times where you promised to come home with things that you then didn't.
Oh, the keys are terrible. Nick. That's the one you wanted.
Yeah.
You really want the key to variable.
Yeah.
You got the key to Merc with Jowl though.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then we won't even talk about the tournament the other weekend where you just didn't even come in the top 10. I mean, it was just crushing devastation. So,
I said sorry, I tried my best.
Yeah, well.
Kieran Street. Unbelievable, that guy.
We fed you. We put you up.
Not welcome, he's not welcome. He's not invited anymore, Kieran. Yeah. So it's kind of linked to that, but do you think then your opinion of, you can't talk about this, but your opinion of Wargamers has changed as well? Sort of people.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a very eclectic mix, isn't it?
There's definitely an eclectic mix. And kind of seeing and getting to know you and getting to know...
all about you.
Oh, I'm going to turn to the wrong tracks for a minute. You know, and knowing that you've got kind of real lives as well as your hobby lives. I mean, there's still weird things about it. Like, I won't ever forget the time when you met Tom, Mr. Handsome, at a tournament. It was doubles, wasn't it, with Chris?
Yeah.
And I was then going away for the weekend, and you went, "Oh, Tom's going to come and stay." I was like, "Oh, all right."
You're away for a week. That's important. It's not a weekend.
Was it a week?
Yeah, because it has to be, doesn't it?
And yeah, you were like, "Oh, and Tom's going to come and stay for a couple of nights." I was like, "Couple of nights?" I was like, "Where did you meet this guy?" And you were like, "Tournament."
It's normal.
I was like, and you're going to have him come and stay in our house? Somebody that you don't really know.
For 3 days. I think it was
For
3
3
nights.
days.
I think it was 3 nights.
It was definitely a long stretch.
It was longer than you'd normally invite someone that you've spent 3 hours
Yeah.
with.
And I was like, "Well, if you don't like him." And he was only about 22 or something at the time, wasn't he? Wasn't
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you doing?
What you're also saying is quite interesting is that in this video, it's not just me, it's no burn thing that we can't get a video of Al mentioning Tom. That's quite important, you know. Clearly, he's got to be brought
He's
up.
here.
Yeah, he's always in our heart.
We love you, Tom. We miss you.
Neither of those things. So yeah, it's kind of, it's odd from an outsider's perspective sometimes, but it's not as odd as you thought it was.
No.
Is that the summation line? It's odd, but it's not as odd as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going with that.
Cool. So before we go, I thought it would be interesting to learn what you've learnt over the last couple of years.
What I've been conditioned into learning.
With a bit of a pop quiz.
Right. Oh.
So, Emro Byrne.
Mhm.
Can you name the 13 dwarfs?
Oh hell, I can name the 13 dwarfs. Dwalin Barlin, Feely Keely, Oin Gloin, Biffa Buffa Bumba, Ori Dori Nori, and the leader of our pack, Thorin Oakenshield.
Very good. That was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Should be company rather than pack, but you know.
Oh.
That's pretty good though.
Yeah. I just wanted to get it out there.
Right, now I think this one will be easier, but I think you might find this trickier. Can you name the 9 members of the Fellowship?
Okay. Frodo, Merry and Pippin, Aragorn, Boromir, Legolas, Gimli, Gandalf.
Oh, you've slipped up.
Oh, Samwise Gamgee!
Oh, there it is. At the death.
I was, the 4.
And he did the 3 hobbits. Yeah, very good. Well done. Okay. What unit of measurement do you use to measure how far models move in SBG?
Okay, you have a range ruler. I think it's in inches.
It is in inches.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Well done. 3 out of 3. At the start of each turn of SBG, both players roll a dice to decide.
For priority.
To decide who goes first. What is that called? Very good. Preempting the question there. It's like you called a heroic move.
Ah, yes.
I love that. Name a character from the Hobbit films that isn't in the Hobbit book.
Radagast. Oh no.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you do another?
Tariel.
Yeah. Very good. That's 2. It's pretty good.
Bjorn is in the books, but not very much. They have expanded his character somewhat for the film.
Oh, really? Actually, there's less of him in the film than there is in the book.
Oh, maybe that's what I heard.
Are you sticking at 2?
Can't blame a girl for trying.
2's pretty good. I only asked for 1.
Okay, yeah, let's just go with that. Otherwise, I might
Like
embarrass
Leggy?
myself again.
Leggy's not.
Oh, he's not in. Oh no, of course.
There's lots
he's
you could have had.
He's not in the Hobbit.
Like Saruman, Galadriel. Who are the current top 3 in the GBHL? In the league?
You, Ed, and Jamie.
Very good. Yeah.
In that order, I think.
It is. Yeah, it's the order indeed. Yeah. Can you name the 3 trolls?
Bill, Bert, and Tom.
Yeah. William, Bert, and Tom. Very good. Okay, quick fire round. You ready? Aragorn or Thorin?
Aragorn. Oh! Didn't expect that.
Legolas or Thranduil?
Legolas.
Bilbo or Frodo?
Bilbo.
Arwen or Tariel?
Oh. Ooh. Arwen.
Who's the most handsome GBHL host?
Jamie. Oh. Oh, you're one now. Oh, baby. Damian. It's obviously Damian.
The quick fire round never lies. Well, until that debacle at the end, you're doing pretty well. Well done. Perhaps other Wargaming Widows may be issued the same challenge of a quiz. But yes, thank you for your time. Did you enjoy this?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes.
hope this is something a bit different, involving a person who is possibly the first time on the channel, someone who doesn't really play war games. But we hope you found it interesting, and it somewhat made up for our lack of plenty this week, and we are sorry about that.
Don't forget to support your Hobbit hobby.
Whoa!
Oh.
I haven't fired them up yet. Give it a minute. I like your enthusiasm. The Plantier will return in 2 weeks' time after Desolation Stockport, of which tickets are still available. So if you would like to come to the biggest independent tournament ever, make sure you get on that. No? You don't want to go?
No. I mean, it's going to be very exciting.
It's going to be very exciting, isn't it?
Very exciting.
It's going to be very exciting.
But, no.
Yeah, there's going to be a very exciting announcement there, as some of you may have known, and possibly when you're watching this you may have seen a teaser video for it. If not, look out for that soon. As ever, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe.
And support your Hobbit. Support your Hobbit hobby.
And happy strategy battle gaming.